Good morning. It is Monday, November 9th. And yesterday's text from worship about the 10 bridesmaids in the Gospel of Matthew, it was about waiting, watchfully waiting. Be ready is what the kind of waiting Matthew wants us to wait with. And it made me remember a song. Brian Schrader years ago, he's from Holman, and he now works at Lord of Life Lutheran Church in Maple Grove, Minnesota. And he came and did a concert for us when he was in his early 20s. He'd made his own album. It was incredible. I know some of you have that CD. It was on a CD at the time. One of maybe my favorite song on that CD was How Long Do I Have to Wait?, which is based on a psalm. Turns out a lot of psalms ask that question: how long do I have to wait? And it's a very earnest sounding song that is hopeful, and yet also you can tell coming from a place of almost desperation. The lyrics go, how long do I have to wait? How far do you want me to go? Feeling so alone, feeling without you, full of empty thoughts, full of longing tears. How long do I have to wait? But then the refrain is, I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up on you. That is such a fantastic example of a psalm that is in prayer, in conversation with God, but completely honest and open about feelings of desperation. And that song and the bridesmaids parable and waiting watchfully, they've all been mixing around in my head, along with the reality that we've elected a female vice president. And just the image of Kamala Harris making a speech on Saturday evening as the vice president-elect. I was reading this morning about the significance of what she was wearing, because I actually didn't care, but it turns out I should have, because it was very meaningful and significant as to why she was wearing a white suit. That is historically been, a white suit has been worn by women who've been making great strides in equality to show that their purpose is pure. And, white being the color of purity. That's why we wear white in the church for Easter and Christmas, to proclaim that Christ is pure. But then she was also wearing, you might have noticed if you saw the speech, a white blouse with a bow, which, again, I didn't know this, but that is the quintessential working woman's uniform. When women were started, as the professional world started to welcome women in, that's what women would wear. That was a female version of a tie. And so Kamala Harris was giving a nod to history, a history that matters a lot to me, because I think a lot of women, not just now, but I think they've obviously played a much larger part in history than is typically written about. I am, maybe I've said this before in a morning musing, but I am distantly, and I do mean distantly, and I'm not even sure how, but I'm distantly related to Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who was, you may know, the essential partner in the women's rights movement in the mid and late 1800s with Susan B. Anthony. They were two peas in a pod. Susan B. Anthony was the one out front on the road giving speeches, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton was the one who was married and was having lots of kids and wrote a lot of kind of the intellectual behind the scenes kind of person. But Elizabeth Cady Stanton, began something in 1848 that she had a convention in the upper part of New York, upstate, that didn't result in women voting for another 72 years. How long do I have to wait? I imagine her wondering. And women and men who at that time were watchfully waiting for the time to be ripe when the country was ready for women to vote. And then since women were allowed to vote and run for office, It's taken a full 100 years for a woman to now be elected to the office of vice president. 172 years in total since that convention in Seneca Falls. It feels like an incredible amount of time. I see women in leadership as a justice issue. When Jesus speaks in the Beatitudes about a promise that the meek, the poor in spirit, that the marginalized will inherit the earth, I see that as a call to welcome the gifts and experiences of all, especially when what many of us are seeking to do is not include people's gifts and experiences simply based on their gender or on their skin color or whatever. I think most of us are agreed that is a call to justice. Especially those who are at a disadvantage. I feel like they are especially among those who God is talking about in the Beatitudes. And so this question of how long I'm not saying that women are on equal footing now completely, but I really celebrate the step and that I get to see it and experience that step for myself, and makes me excited for my daughters, granddaughters, and beyond. And I pray that more of those promises made in the Beatitudes would come true in our own time, so that we can start to answer the how long question.